But one of the things that struck me about what Ashcroft said today is that there was sort of a tacit admission that the United States does not have a firm handle on the number of terrorist organizations operating within the United States. One official I talked to yesterday said, look, we're not thinking that anything is imminent, but we just don't know.
You mentioned Iraq. Vice President Cheney said on Meet the Press that our information is Iraq was not behind this latest incident. But should a primary goal of the war on terrorism be to topple Saddam Hussein?
Yes, I think so.
We know that one of the persons arrested on a material witness warrant was this pilot that showed up at JFK and LaGuardia and caused, in part, all of the confusion there Thursday night that resulted in shutting down LaGuardia, JFK, and Newark for 3 hours, those three airports for many hours on Thursday. He presented a false identification, they believe. When authorities questioned this man, he was considerably less than forthcoming, and they believe he may have additional information.
Intelligence officials and investigators in this country saying that, contrary to some of the earlier reports, there may be as many as 35 continually operating groups at large in the United States. At one point, we were given to understand that there could have been as many as 4 or 5 still remaining as part of what was the coordinated attack on September 11th. They are now saying that there are probably far many more than that. Much of the investigation is focused on Texas, New Jersey, and Florida, where it is said, where investigators believe there are still a number of these groups still at large.
Our chief congressional correspondent, Carl Cameron, who also has been doing a lot of work this weekend on intelligence gathering. Carl, what's the latest?
Well, there's a number of arrests that have occurred overnight in the last 36 hours or so, particularly centralized in New Jersey. Overnight, a number of suspects believed to have ties to Osama bin Laden were arrested, brought into custody in New Jersey. They include 2 men who are from Jersey City. Jersey City specifically important because it is believed by investigators to be the former headquarters of Sheikh Omar Rahman, who in 1995 was convicted for planning attacks on a variety of New York City landmarks. Mr. Rahman, still in custody, however, he has a variety of disciples who are believed to, at this point, be at large around the country. There was a second warrant for material questioning issued overnight, and another man, again from Jersey City, New Jersey, brought into custody. That would bring the total to 3 just in the last 24 hours who were actually brought into custody for additional questioning. U.S. intelligence investigators as well as domestic counterterrorism officials saying all of them are wanted because it is believed that they have specific knowledge about the planning and orchestration of the attacks on the World Trade Center. In addition, on Thursday of last week, 3 men were arrested at Newark, New Jersey airport. They are from Passaic, New Jersey. They are still in custody today. And Fox News has learned, Rita Cosby is reporting, that they had several $1,000s worth of cash on them at the time with one-way tickets to Syria.
But we've been warned. We've been warned there are evil people in this world. We've been warned so vividly. And we'll be alert. Your government is alert. The governors and mayors are alert that evil folks still lurk out there. Yeah.
Mr. President, do you believe Osama bin Laden's denial that he had anything to do with this?
No question, he is the prime suspect. No question about that. Now, this crusade, this war on terrorism, is going to take a while, and the American people must be patient. I'm going to be patient, but I can assure the American people, I am determined. I'm not going to be distracted. I will keep my focus to make sure that not only are these brought to justice, but anybody who's been associated will be brought to justice. Those who harbor terrorists will be brought to justice. It is time for us to win the first war of the 21st century decisively.
Back here in the United States, 25 people that we know of have been detained and questioned by the INS in connection with this case. We now know that 2 other people have been arrested on what are called material witness warrants. It means they had to be arrested because the authorities wanted to talk to them. Either they were concerned that they were going to flee or other potential reasons.
And of course, there is some intelligence information to pass on to you, if I could, very briefly. As you know, there have been 6 people detained in New Jersey, 3 from Jersey City and 3 from Passaic. And there is information obtained by Rita Cosby and Carl Cameron, which indicates that some of those people had a lot of money on them and a one-way ticket to Syria. Osama bin Laden, as you know, has denied responsibility. I'll let that go without any other comment. Pakistan is being asked to help. And there is a report from our Carl Cameron that the Mossad has been involved in trying to provide information to the FBI. They may have come here, best information we have, and talked to the FBI recently, 2 senior Israeli intelligence officers, and they told us that there may have been as many as 200 terrorists in the United States. This was last week, remember, and that large-scale operation was apparently being planned. They didn't have any of the firm details, and they said that it would be imminent. If that information turns out to be accurate, that would have been the only early warning that the United States may have reached as far as we know.
Unfortunately, like the similar circumstance with Joe Biden's early appearance on NBC's Today Show, September 14th, on September 16th, Archive.org's Understanding 9/11, a television news archive, for some reason also has a glitch and will not show a couple of hours worth of news video of the timeline with Fox News' Carl Cameron's appearance, first making this report about a warning from Israel's Mossad, as Brian Wilson just reported. But this should come as no surprise at this point with how much Fox News is already covering the dragnet with the material witness arrests from Jersey. Because as we are able to fast forward 3 months later onto December 2001 with Carl Cameron and Britt Hume's infamous 4-part news piece on the Israeli spy ring, which incidentally by that point in December of 2001, 200 Israelis had already been rounded up before and after 9/11 for INS and espionage charges.
Now, among the developments of those we know have been held on these material witness charges, one man at JFK Airport who was part of the reason for that confusion at New York's 3 airports on Thursday, one of 2, and possibly by this hour both men who are on an Amtrak train picked up in Fort Worth, Texas, after they had to get off their plane that originated in Newark on the morning of the suicide flights. At first, authorities thought they were drug couriers, but then it was discovered they were carrying box knives, a large amount of cash, and one official tells us tonight that lead is extremely promising.
Only this morning, the FBI flew a man named Zacharias Moussaoui from Minnesota to New York. His case is being followed today by ABC's Brian Ross.
He was taken into custody August 17th in Minneapolis after his behavior at a Minneapolis flight school raised suspicions. He showed up with thousands of dollars in cash and wanted to learn quickly how to fly a 747 to take flight simulator lessons. And he told the instructors there that he only really cared about flying the plane in a horizontal position. He didn't really care about takeoffs or landings.
Also, in the last 24 hours, a San Antonio doctor was brought to New York for questioning. He's believed to be linked to 2 of the suicide bombers. And 2 men detained Wednesday in Fort Worth, Texas, also brought to New York. They were found carrying box cutters and $20,000 cash on an Amtrak train. In some cases, people detained since Tuesday have already been released. Presumably, some innocent people are being swept up.